Hello fellow maulers and those interested. My name is John Lanning with IPMS for Crook, and I'm back with another inbox review. We're doing this kind of differently since you guys don't need to see my ugly bug. Um, anyway, this is the kit we're going to review here. This is the brand new Clear Prop 1/72 scale F-86A. Just released about a little bit over a month ago. I just received these in the mail just a couple days ago. What is there to say with Clear Prop? I was really happy when I heard that this kit was coming out in 72nd scale. Clear Prop released the kit in 48 scale back in December, and of course, when maulers they want a kit but it's in the wrong scale, as soon as they hear about this kit coming out, the maulers will go to the manufacturer, Facebook, or by email or whatever, and ask them, hey, are there any plans to put this kit out in, whatever scale you want? Well, I was one of the guys that asked them if they're planning on doing the F-86A at 72nd scale. Well, they answered me rather quickly, rather strongly. By releasing this kit, they made the announcement only a couple weeks after I posted the question. And not only that, as soon as they announced it, within a matter of a couple of days, it was already on the website for sale. So that was extremely quick turnaround by Clear Prop. The funny thing is that I shouldn't have been surprised by this. They've done it a few more times with some of their other kits, such as the Hawk 75 and the Polikarpov I-16 and a few others, to where they started off in one scale, and then almost immediately, within a matter of a month or two, they released the same kit but in a different scale. So I should have been surprised, but I was, and I was pleasantly so. So anyway, what is there to say about the F-86? Well, you're looking at one of the most iconic fighters of the 20th century. And when you ask anybody, and I do mean pretty much anybody, to name one enemy aircraft and one allied aircraft of the Korean War, the answers you're going to get more likely will be the MiG-15 and the F-86. As you gotta know, the F-86 bore the brunt of fighting over the Korean conflict. There were other aircraft too, the F-80s, the F-9F Panthers, the P-51 Mustangs, or in that case they're really known as F-51s because the Air Force changed its designation from pursuit to fighter. But the F-86 was basically the apex of the air forces of the Allies fighting for South Korea. I'm trying to remember what the victory to loss ratio was. I believe it was 12-1. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But anyway, the F-86 the design started off at the end of World War II. It gleaned a lot of information that came from the German World War II designers of the aircraft that were being designed by them. They were the leading experts when it came to swept wing design. So eventually, both American and Russian manufacturers, and down the line pretty much everyone else, started using their research to design their own aircraft, and the F-86 was changed from a straight wing design to a swept wing design and was put on the production line. The first aircraft was released in 1949. Production lasted from 49 to 1956. And it wasn't just North American Aviation that built this aircraft. Licensing was given to Canadair and CAC in Australia, Fiat in Italy, and Mitsubishi in Japan. North America itself came out with a total of 7,800 models of the F-86, including 554 A models and 188 A-5 models. Now, of course, that's the yearly version, which this is the kit for. And of course, the F-86 were the first versions of the Sabre to go to Korea. Later on, of course, augmented and then replaced by F-86Es and Fs. Anyway, North America built 7,800 copies of the Sabre. Canadair which produced it as the Sabre Mark 1 through Mark 6, produced 1,815. Most of them, they were released with the Orinda engine, replacing the original engine from the F-86A and E. And CAC in Australia built 112 Avon engine versions for the Royal Australian Air Force, and their other design change was the replacement of the 6 Browning 50 caliber machine guns with 2 30mm 8-inch cannon. The ones that were built in Fiat and Mitsubishi had very minimal changes, basically baseline from the F-86. F-86K, I believe, which is a little bit different. And Mitsubishi, I think, if they were, theirs was more in line with the F-86E and F. So anyway, a total of F-86s of all marks, A through L, was 9,860. That also includes the FJ-1 Fury, which was the Navy version of the F-86. Total of 30 nations operated the type. Now, even though it had a very successful career in Korea, it had a very successful career after Korea as well. As I stated, operated by 30 nations, including Argentina, Pakistan, Taiwan, Bolivia, Canada, the UK, Germany, Thailand, a whole bunch of other nations. It did see action several other times. It saw action with Taiwanese forces during the Taiwan Strait crisis in 1958, intercepting Chinese MiGs over the Taiwan Strait. It saw a lot of success with the Pakistani Air Force in the 1965 and 1971 wars with India. And Portugal used F-86s in some of its colonial wars in Africa in the 1960s. So, anyway, Clearprop. Well, what's to say about Clearprop? They're a brand new kit, manufacturer. Well, not brand new. They've been around for a couple years. They're based out of Ukraine. And they're one of the ones that started very, very fast out of the cradle with some very, very, very well-designed model kits. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump in here real quick, and I'll show you what's in the box. Okay, so it looks like we have a total of 9 sprues, 8 gray, 1 clear, 2 separate bags. First set of sprues here are we got here for the fuselage. I'll move this out of the way so it'll focus. There you go. See the delicate panel lines, very not deep at all. Nice and delicate, pretty much in scale. In this version right here, you got 2 intakes, 2 versions of the intake. Parts of the engine here, of course, the fuselage. And if you flip it around, you know, no injection pin markings anywhere, so there's not a whole lot of cleanup to do. As you notice, there's not a lot of flash. So the first one here, second one, again, fuselage. You see the panel lines, nice and well. More parts of the engine right here. And we have this right here. A lot of internal stuff here, mostly for the landing gear bays. You got your landing gear hubs right here. Where's the main landing gear here? There's a nose gear right there. More stuff for the landing gear bays. You know, again, no cleanup from ejection pin marks. Okay, second set of sprues here. This is for mostly the cockpit. There's your control panel right there, as you can see. It actually has detail, and we got more. These are part of the ejection sheet right here. More inside the well, you see more detail inside of the cockpit right there. The back, those are the main wheels. More. You see the inside the cockpit's got plenty of detail. Something that I personally like because it makes it easier to detail in weather. See more of it right there. Parts of the ejection seat right there. Okay, we're looking at this is the in-tank trunking that mounts below the below the cockpit cockpit floor. This would go in the main landing gear bay. The fuel tanks. Right this here too. Okay, now, sorry. Underside of the fuselage right here. This would be for the landing gear, the forward landing gear. You got 3 sets of doors for your 50 caliber machine guns. 2 that are open, 1 that's closed. This goes into the canopy, and then you got your wing slats right here. And I do believe that's for the tail right there. You'll be able to mold this with the wing slats. You'll be able to mold it with the wing slats deployed or pushed in. Those are what you will be mounting, and then I'll show you in the photo etch to where the hinges, they mount right here for deployed. So anyway, get that. And here's your wings right here. This, I believe, is the bottom of the wings right here. So, and then of course, you know, this version right here, there's your ailerons. Now the A version had the ailerons mounted in the tail. Later versions, beginning with the E, had what they call the flying tail, which means the whole tail moved instead of just the ailerons, and it improved the performance at high speed. And then here's the top of the wings right here. You see the detail of that, and then there's your flaps. Now, I thought, when I first looked at this kit, I thought that maybe you'd be able to mold it with the flaps down, but I'll show you in the instructions here, that might not be the case. Alright, here are the decals here. There are versions for 3 U.S. Air Force versions. Got your stencils right here. As you can see from the decals here, I'll just open up and take a quick look at them there. There we go. Decals look very well registered. Looks like everything's properly lined up. No smudging. Nothing like that. It looks like ClearPop is doing their own decals, which is, well, I mean, most everybody else has gone with Cartograph or micro scale, but apparently ClearPop is sticking with their own. So there's the decals here. Here's your photo etch, mostly with the ejection seat here, and then as I said, you know, those are the hinges for the slats. Here are the clear parts that try to get away from me. Here's your clear parts right here. So you got your canopy and your front canopy right here. Looks like that might be the gun sight. And then you got your lights right here. Those are mounted to the front wings. So, I'm not seeing anything too bad with that. Nice and well detailed. Your clear parts. The instruction sheet. Now let's say the instruction sheet is in color where it needs to be, and most of the instructions though are going to be in standard black and white. This is the booklet type. Here's your paint call outs, all of them in ammo. Let's see here. We got Mr. Color, AMIG, and unfortunately that's it. So it'd be nice to have more paint call outs, especially since there's so many paint lines these days. So anyway, there's your sprue maps. Yay, I love sprue maps. Let's keep the parts honest. Of course, there's your instructions right there. Got your cockpit with your control panel. There's a separate decal for your control panel if you decide to use that. But as you can see from the from the pictures here, the control panel, the cockpit is going to be pretty much well detailed. There's your ejection seat. Parts of there's your intake trunking going through the nose with the engine front. More assembly. Finally, there's going to be the fuselage assembly right there. Your wing assembly, and then there's your assembly of your gun ports right there. You have your choice of closed and open. There's your nose, one of the two. Okay, more wing assembly. Now, as I stated earlier on, I was hoping it'd be, you'd be able to build it with the flaps down, but it's not showing that. I don't know if you might be able to wing it to where you can actually deploy the flaps downward or not. And then you got your tail right there, which you might be able to get away with slightly bending it like a little bit to display it in not so straight position here. And then there's your wing slats, and as I told you, those are the photo etch for your wing slats if they're open. So you get a choice of open or closed. Your main landing gear right here. More main landing gear stuff. Pretty good assembly for landing gear. And there's your nose gear. More assembly for your nose gear. A lot of assembly for your nose gear. And then there's your ejection seat and final assembly for the cockpit. And there's your canopy assembly right here. And your deployable air brakes. And maybe you can't build it with it. And then there's your fuel tanks right there. Okay. And here's your versions. You got 2 on this page and then 1 on this one here. All U.S. Air Force examples of F-86A-5. The first one here on the top is for an F-86A-5 of the 94th Fighter Squadron, March Air Force Base in California. That's this one. The one here on the bottom is an F-86A-5 of the 62nd Fighter Interceptor Squadron, Selfridge Air Force Base in Michigan in 1950. That's this one. And then the last one is of F-86A-5 of the 334th Fighter Squadron, Lanning Air Force, Virginia, during the 1950 Air Force Gunnery Meet. This one right here. So, evidently, there is no Korean War versions in this kit. Here is your stencil instructions on both sides. So there is no Air National Guard versions in here or versions from the Korean War. That to me is a little bit unfortunate. But let me box this up and I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright, so what do I have to say? Well, being that this is the only other 72nd scale kit of the F-86A, the other one being the ancient Matchbox kit, well, it's pretty easy to see this would be the king of the hill. If you're looking for a replacement for your Matchbox kits, not to say there's anything wrong with building them, but there's some people that they have the Matchbox kit in their stash, hoping that something better would come along. Well, this is your better come along right here. As you've seen from from the sprues, it's very well detailed. The panel lines are nice. They're delicate. They're not out of scale. The detail is pretty damn good, especially when you compare it to the old Matchbox kit. So if you're looking for a replacement for your Matchbox kit, yeah, this is definitely the one. But if you choose to build the Matchbox kits, then build the Matchbox kit. The only issue that I have, the main issue that I have with this, there's two issues. One's minor, one's major. Is the fact that there's no Korean War or no Air National Guard markings in the kit. Whether they do a reboxing of this with those markings, I don't know. I do believe they've done reboxings of some of their previous kits anyway, so there's a possibility there. If not, unfortunately, there isn't a lot of decals on the market. I mean, there are some for Korean War, if you can find them. When it comes to Air National Guard, there's not very many. Microscope did an outstanding set for the Arizona Air National Guard with the Copperhead that was painted along the fuselage all the way down. And, you know, that decal sheet was released like 30, 40 years ago, and then they released it again not too long ago. But there's not a whole lot when it comes to selections for Air National Guard versions. Now, the F-86A, it was operated by the National Guard by a good number of units. California, Alaska, Kentucky, Montana, Utah. That's just to name a few that operated the A version. Most of the Air Guard units ended up operating the D or L version because most Air National Guard units were due to be included in the Air Defense of America, and the D and L versions were basically interceptor versions. And their main weapons were not the guns, it was rockets that were fired at bombers in the air. So, but there are some units that did operate the A version, not for very long, but there were some. But yeah, I mean, this kit could have done with some, you know, Korean War markings. But you know, Korean War markings are all over the place. It's the Air National Guard markings that I'm kind of disappointed in. So you got that there, and then the other thing is like, well, and the reason why it's only minor is because you don't see a lot of F-86s with weapons hanging off of it. So there's no weapons in the kit. You just got a pair of fuel tanks. And a vast majority of F-86As that you see, yeah, they're just carrying the fuel tanks. So it's not a major big bugaboo when it comes to that. I mean, you don't see them carrying anything very often, so it's no big loss. So anyway, I like this kit. I like it. There are a lot of parts in it. Well, I should say one more issue with this kit is that it's not a cheap kit. You know, their website has it on sale for €35. That equates to about roughly just over 36 US American dollars. So it's not a cheap kit by any chance. And then of course shipping. Try to remember how much I paid for mine. I think it was around the $85 range for both. I bought two kits, so it was about $85 range for two kits and shipping from Ukraine. It took a little bit longer than normal for obvious reasons, but you know, I'm glad it finally arrived here. And I should say obvious reasons, but you know, the U.S. Postal Service isn't really doing itself any good when, you know, my kits. I live in a small town outside of Omaha, and they arrived in Omaha, then they went north of me to a town like 25 miles north of where I live, and then it went back to Omaha, sit in Omaha for a couple days, and then finally shipped it over here. So it took an unnecessarily drive out to the middle of someplace where I wasn't at. So it took me a few more extra days to get these kits in, but you know, that's something completely different. Anyway, this is a very good kit. You know, the panel lines are nice and delicate. There's no flash on the sprues. It looks like I guess the parts should fit, but we'll figure that out when I start building on this thing here, though. So not a lot of complaints that I have concerning what I saw in the kit here. So I'm gonna give it maybe, I'm gonna say 8.5, maybe even a 9. I'm not really seeing a whole lot that needs to be improved on this kit, so I figure it'd be pretty good. Clearpop, though, you know, Clearpop has been a very surprising kit manufacturer. You know, we're talking about this F-86A. Of course, last week during the Nuremberg toy fair, they announced that they're releasing a 72nd scale MiG-19 PF, or I'm sorry, PM, MiG-19P and PM. Take that, Trumpeter, because you've been announcing yours for nearly 20 bloody years now. But Quirk Pop, when they say they're going to release something, well, at least they've got the pictures to prove it, that their kit is getting ready for the market. So, you know, I've been kind of wondering when Quirk Pop is going to get into the late models of the SH2 Sea Sprite, like the F's and G's. They said eventually they're going to do it, but they don't announce when they're going to release stuff. So, I mean, hopefully it'd be soon, but you never know with these guys, you know. And OV-1D, I like to get a couple of OV-1Ds because I got some, you know, Argentinian Air Force markings I like to throw on them. But you know, that's some different story. But yeah, this is an excellent kit. This is a definite replacement for the only other full-scale F-86A in 72nd scale. So anyway, if you have any questions, complaints, ideas, gripes, whatever, or just you know, post them down below. I'll get to them whenever I can. Anyway, you guys have a good night. Thank you. Bye.